Step this way for the Spanish Inquisition. Just a little coffee talk, okay, like butter.
Matt's an okay dude, but he's a dummy.
Michael! Oh, that's funny. Michael!
And now, broadcasting live from the Elevation 5280 Sports Studios in Denver, Colorado, this is Matt Mascarenas and Michael Spillett.
I've said it 2 years ago. I'll say it again, Matt, that Will Barton can and will shoot you out of a game. That was the same criticism that I had of J.R. Smith when he was here, Matt. Yeah, he'll drain 5 3-pointers in a row, but then he'll miss 10 in a row. And you always say, you know, a shooter needs to keep shooting. No, never believed in that sentiment, especially with guys like a J.R. Smith and a Will Barton, guys who will shoot you out of a game.
I agree 100% on this team being a pretender right now. And you mentioned it, you know, Will Barton, there's no semblance of a rotation on this basketball team. There's no bench. The bench is awful. You can't have Mike Malone keeping Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray when he's on the court, when he's playing, or your starters playing 35, 40 plus minutes a game because you can't take a rest. You can't let your bench come in because they're going to give up double-digit leads. They're going to give up double-digit runs.
Can we invite Matt?
All work and no play makes Michael a dull boy.
Now, Matt and Michael are on.
Welcome back to another edition of the Rocky Mountain Sports, here on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, the Elevation 5280 Sports show with me, Matt Mascarenas, and Michael Spillin. Mike, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, it's been a long time no see, Matt. So
I know, where have you been? I haven't really, seen you in a while.
Yeah, it's funny how just technical difficulties all around can really hinder what we do in life nowadays.
Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine this in like 1995? It would be, I don't even remember what it would be, but we wouldn't be.
I don't even know. So I got like 3 cameras running, or I had 3 cameras running. I was trying to figure out which one was the right one. And finally I unplugged because I went through, I'm having camera troubles. I think you got your sound fixed, right? We got that going.
Yeah, finally the software opened, so we might have some drops finally.
It's like I always tell my kids when I coach, it's like, you're not very good right now, so the only way you can go is up and get better. So that's positive, right? Each week we could get better. Just like the Colorado Rockies. We're going to kick it off right there. Obviously, we are going to talk a lot of stuff today. Some Broncos, Nuggets, and like I said, we're going to kick it off with Rockies, and we might even get to some other sports around town too as well. But real quick, before we do that, I should let you guys know everywhere we can go, and you can find us either at find the show on Twitter at Elevation 5280 Sports. You can find us there. You can find me at Matt Mascarenas 1 and Michael Spillin at Michael Spillin. I'm sorry, the Twitter is 5280 Sports Radio. So, and also you could check us out on our new home here, which is if you're watching, is Rocky Mountain Sports Network. You can find us there. Plenty of shows going on. Give those guys a check out and follow and do all that good stuff. Subscribe, rate, review. Is that kind of what we do, Mike? Subscribe, rate, and review anymore?
I think so. I think we can subscribe, rate, and review. And again, pardon the technical difficulties as we keep going in and out. I'm looking at the screen, Matt, and we're keep going in and out. So
Really?
I don't know what it is, but just bear with it because it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun trip.
It would be boring if we didn't have all this stuff going on. But let's kick off right in the Rockies. Let's dig into it. We had Kevin on from the Rock Pile yesterday. Obviously, we were talking about it, and he said this Brewer series was going to set up kind of the rest of the summer, the rest of the season for this Colorado Rockies team. And they lose 9-4. They've lost 3 straight, 6 of 4 in their last 10. And I mean, listening to this game on the radio, I caught a little bit of it. I don't know if you caught any of this game, Mike, but I'm looking at a team that I don't know if they're right there, and I don't know if I'm going to be like, yeah, let's go. Let's root for this, or if I'm going to wait until next season to do that, because I just don't see a lot of excitement and I don't get super excited. You know, you had Crone with a home run, you had Diaz with a home run, and then Rogers with that other RBI there. Of course, Crone had the 2-run home run. So 4-9, the Rockies lose to the Brewers. Do you think? I mean, if they come out and they win this series, does that give you more hope going into the season of what this Rockies team can do at least this year? Are you going to be excited, I guess, to say at least they could play for a wild card spot?
No. Simple answer, no. And can they win this, or can they split? They can split the series.
Well, they can split the series now, right? Correct.
The 4-game set, and then Chicago's major league team comes into town for 2. So hopefully I'll be able to make it to one of those 2 games. To be a Tuesday night game, but we'll see what who show their product, which is, let's face it, not that great. Besides CJ Cron, Jonathan Daza had a home run yesterday as well. Chad Kuhl on the mound. Cooler than the other side of the pillow, as they say. He's on the mound for the Rockies today. Brewers, they're doing all right in that National League Central, 52-43, but no, I have zero hope. And the only 2 games from beginning to end that I watched, Matt, were the only 2 games that I've gone to this season, which was opening weekend and then the weekend after that, back in April. And, you know, the Avs were still in the midst of, it was before the playoffs, so you were focused into hockey, but not dialed in like you were during the Stanley Cup championship run. And I don't know, Matt, I don't know if I'm still in hockey mode or already in football mode, as you can tell by my apparel this morning.
I know.
So I think the Rockies missed my window. I didn't miss their window, Matt. They missed my window. So I'm already in football mode. Baseball is kind of got pushed to the background because of the Avs long run, and now we're already days away from training camp.
I'm right there with you, man. I'm not ready to. I'm not going to bury the Rockies, you know, because I'll have them on in the background. I'll have the game. I'll pay attention. I'll watch the scores. I get the updates and the notifications. But I'm with you. We got training camp starting. So I kind of like, I'm excited about that. So yeah, I'm the same way. Even if they come out and they do what they can in this series and get a split or whatever they can do. And going forward, and I mean, if they stay pat in the trade deadline, or if they go and trade for somebody, I don't know. I don't hear anything, and I think this is just totally stupid fantasy booking. But if they did make a trade for a Soto kind of a situation like that, would that buck any of your interest at all?
I don't know, because does Soto I don't know, what does Soto have any like control in where he goes? I think we got to look into that first, because if he has control in where he goes, then he ain't coming here. He would wind up with the Brewers before he came to the Rockies. And I was reading up somewhere, of course, both New York teams are in the running for Soto, both New York teams in first place. Speaking of which, I'm a side note really quick, Matt. The Boston Red Sox, we talked about it yesterday, a 25-3 thumping by the Toronto Blue Jays the other day. How about this? And then they go on to lose 2 more games. And I don't have the scores in front of me, but I remember the run differential, Matt. They are minus 47 runs in their last 3 games. And 25 of those runs were in 1 game. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But anyway, yeah, it depends on if Soto has control, because let's face it, he's going to go to their New York to be both have the market. I think I saw Houston. In trash Kansas, but the American League period, 63-32. I think I saw Houston on that list. I think I saw St. Louis on that list, which is kind of weird. And of course, the Dodgers are always going to be on everyone's list. Let's face it, big market, big money team, first place team. It seems almost every month of every year. So Juan Soto came here. Like I said, I doubt 50% of the people who go to Coors Field to watch Rocky games probably doesn't even know who Juan Soto is unless they read some headline that say he won the home run derby.
Exactly.
Besides that, I don't think a lot of people even know who he is, even though he's a young, still rising. I think he's only like 23, 24 years old, Matt. So
Yeah.
he's
I think what could happen, and the only
Rockies
way, I don't
have.
think he's going
I
to get
don't think
traded here,
Rockies
but I would be curious. I don't know what the Rockies, if that would even make sense, because they got to pay the guy next year. I think if he gets, I don't know if he's going to be on that team at the or after the trade deadline, I should say. Like you mentioned, all those teams that are in the running, they have a lot to offer money wise, and whatever it is that the Nationals would want. So I think that what would happen is I could see them trying to make a run for them in the offseason, maybe try to get Soto in the offseason. But like you said right there, the only reason why that would make sense and to get the party deck people to get excited, because that's what we call Rockies fans nowadays. Like there are Rockies fans, don't get me wrong, but they're pretty much just the party deck folks, right? The party deck fans, party deck people. To get those people excited, they would have to show them, hey, we just signed the dude that won the home run derby last year, and throw all kinds of money at him. So I did read somewhere that the Rockies might do that, or might look into doing that. I don't know how much credence or how truth or whatever it was to it, but if they do make a run at him, I think it is in this postseason run. So like I said, I'm with you, dude. Football starts. I don't even know if we're going to talk about the Rockies anymore. I really don't. This might be it right here. But moving on to a player that I want to get your opinion on this, because talked a little bit about it yesterday, but I want to talk about it again. Nazem Kadri. He hasn't signed yet. There's been the kind of apprehension, like scared nervousness about, oh my God, is he not? I thought he was going to stay here. I thought he wanted to be here, but do they have enough money to throw at him? And then also, the reason why the Avs didn't sign Darcy Kemper was to save money to sign more guys. I know they've signed a lot of guys, but if Nazem Kadri doesn't sign here, does that kind of, does he become, is he still like a love player here? Or does he kind of turn into a, kind of like hey, you're not on our team anymore, and we know the kind of player you are. He is that kind of player that he's on your team. You love it. You're excited about it. But then if he's on somebody else's team, you might hate that guy. So what do you think there's going to be some blowback with the Kadri situation if he doesn't sign here with him as a player?
Yeah, just imagine if he went to St. Louis or some crazy like that.
Man.
I doubt he'd even go to St. Louis
No.
if they offered him the most money because of what happened during the playoff run. But back to really quickly get Darcy Kemper out of the way. He was going to get overpaid anyway, and the Avs actually gave up quite a few players and quite a few prospects, I guess draft prospects, because they traded away draft picks, 1-year rental, and he was going to get overpaid no matter where he went. And the Avs were, what I think I brought this up last time we were on here, Matt, was it reminds me so of the goalie situation for the Avs remind me so much of the quarterback situation for the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
And then for like 13, 14 years, like John Elway. And even if he was here for maybe around that time, but it was second round exits almost every single year. Grubauer was here. Varlamov was here for I think 8 years, but again, nothing to show for it. And he went on to do okay for the Islanders. I think he's still on the Islanders. But anyway, yeah, Darcy Kemper, to get his conversation out of the way, he was going to get overpaid no matter where he went. Nazem Kadri, this is going to ruffle some feathers, Matt, but I think Colorado Avalanche fans are way smarter than Colorado Rockies fans, which is weird to say because probably a lot of those fans are the same people, but they know that, this is probably the last big contract that Kadri is going to get.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of bounced around. This was the end of his third year in Colorado. He was with Toronto for a couple years. And so this is the last big contract he's going to get. Now he has a Stanley Cup on his resume. He does have a reputation that follows him, suspended last year for a hit in the playoffs. And again, who knows what would have happened if they had Nazem Kadri last season. in that people know that he's going to get his money. I think Matt Smith brought it up yesterday, Matt. The Avs only have about $3.5 million of cap space, which means you have to get rid of somebody or somebodies. That doesn't make sense, but you have to get rid of one person or multiple people to create space. And Sam Girard and JT Compher are always the names that are being brought up when it comes to trading people. And then you got to think about Nathan McKinnon's contract. He's going to get a big deal. That'll kick in starting next season. So a lot of people think that McKinnon's big contract that's coming is affecting this year, but it isn't, because this is the last year of his current deal, in which he took a hometown discount a few years ago to sign that one. So I don't know. I thought Kadri would be gone on day one of free agents, which this Wednesday will mark 2 weeks since free agency opened. And I don't know. I think he's trying to give the Avs more time. I think the Avs are giving him time, but unless something we don't know, maybe the market wasn't just right for him. We saw big trades. We saw big signings during free agency. We just saw Kachuk get traded to Florida for a big haul. And then he goes and signs like a new 8-year, $76 million contract with the Panthers. So I don't know. There's being money thrown around. And let's not forget, Matt, the NHL is a hard cap. So you have zero flexibility. Like you don't have a luxury tax that you can pay if you go over. You cannot go over. And I don't even know what they do with that 3.5. I think the magic number for him to stay on the Avs, Matt, is 8, maybe $8 million a year. A lot of people are saying 10 to 12. I don't think he's going to get that anywhere now. I think it's too late for any team, because teams are being impatient with all these moves and trades. So again, I think 8's the magic number, and to get to that number, Matt, they got to trade somebody.
Right. That's what it kind of sounds like is if they're going to get him to stay here, they got to trade somebody. And that's what I don't think that's going to happen though. I've just been really following the Avs along the Stanley Cup run, and then just what's been going on. And from what I can tell, and like you just laid it out there, it doesn't feel like they're going to move on him. It doesn't feel like he's going to be back here because of all that money reasons you just laid out, in particular. Because it sounds like if he could be here, he would already be here, right? If they had the money, they would give it to him. He'd be here. So it's just one of those situations, because he was a big part of the emotional side of this team throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs, and just a big emotional lift. Even when he was out those games, he was still in the back of the mind. And when he shows up and he plays that game, just a big uplift in attitude and spirit. So it from that aspect of it, the hockey stuff is self-explanatory, but from that aspect of it, it is a loss. It is a loss, but I don't think it's going to hurt them that much, because there's a lot still left over on this Avalanche squad. So that's very interesting to see how that shakes down and where Nazem Kadri does end up. Moving right along into the we got some questions here too. I noticed this, Mike. I don't know if you can pull those up.
Hold on, one more quick point about that. And you mentioned
Oh, did we lose Mike?
Oh no, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of froze there for a minute. I just wanted to make one more point. You mentioned Kadri being hurt for those few games, comes back, not only scores the game-winning goal in the game he returned. So that you got to think of that as well. A couple of comments here. Kemper really didn't get overpaid. From Jody, do you really think that the Avs were going to pay him what Washington paid him, over just around $26 million for Darcy Kemper's contract? I don't think the Avs were going to pay that. I don't think a lot of teams were going to pay that. So, in my opinion, and he was going to get overpaid, man. He was a Stanley Cup winning goaltender on a team. If they did not play well in front of him, he was average. And nothing against Darcy Kemper. That's just the way he plays, whatever. And again, another comment, I think Patrick Kane is going to get traded to Colorado. We brought that up yesterday as well. That's a name that's always been thrown around. And I think I brought this up too, Matt, a week. Patrick Kane's 33, Nazem Kadri is 31, heading into his age 34 season. But again, Kadri 1 cup, Patrick Kane 3 cups. You got to measure out all the, I guess, intangibles when it comes to those two guys. And again, we talked to our Avalanche insider yesterday. Matt Smith said if Patrick Kane comes to Colorado, it's probably going to be more of a trade move than before the season move. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, that'll be it's still, there's still a lot to see what happens. It's still a lot to see what shakes down there. So I did notice a comment here from Lawrence Riviera. I don't know if you see that, Mike. I can't. There it is, right there. It seems to be fun right now to focus on a run. It just seems to me like the years John Fox was the guy, they used him to bring people here because he was a fun coach, but it wasn't until we got Gary Kubiak. Can you help me with my doubts? The coach staff talking about the Broncos coaching staff. So, I mean, Mike, what do you think about this Broncos coaching staff? It's a brand new coaching staff in more ways than one. The head coach is new in his position. All the coordinators are new in their position. What kind of anticipations do you have from this coaching staff on either, is Hackett a player's coach, kind of like Lawrence, suggests here that John Fox was a player's coach? Do you got anything from his past players or places that he's been? Hackett, he was in Jacksonville, he called plays there. His most recent, obviously, we know he was in Green Bay. The rest of the coaches, we know where Evero came from and so on and so forth. So I know we're going to need a full training camp. We're going to need preseason games and stuff like that to see exactly what happens. But so far, what can you get from what we have seen from this coaching staff, and what do you anticipate us having?
Well, obviously Hackett seems like a fun dude. He brought the music back to
Music's
practices.
back, baby.
We'll probably hear it at training camp. Again, I always bring this up. I'm scared when, especially a first-time head coach is calling plays. Vic Fangio was in the league for 50 years, and he was a first-time play caller, first-time head coach, and he struggled with managing the rest of the game. And I'm scared for Hackett to fall into that same trap of calling plays and being a first-time head coach. He's an offensive guy, so we'll see how much he pays attention to the defense, pays attention to the rest of the game. Maybe that's what Don Capers is for. Maybe he'll be in his ear for that kind of, I guess, support. And again, just like John Fox / Gary Kubiak had Peyton Manning to kind of, and I brought this up as well. Mm-hmm. John Fox and Gary Kubiak, I think, had a lot more experience behind them. Let's not forget, Gary Kubiak was a head coach for 8 seasons in Houston before he came back to the Broncos. So he had a lot of experience. Obviously, John Fox was a head coach before he came here, and he made it to a Super Bowl with Carolina. And so he had a lot more. But they also have Peyton to cover, and is a perfect candidate for a first-time head coach, Matt, because he's a seasoned veteran, Super Bowl winner, future Hall of Famer. So he's going to cover up some of those blunders that this coaching staff may have when it comes to, Nathaniel Hackett, Justin Outen. On the defensive side, on Evero, I don't really know if there's somebody who can cover up his blunders. This defense should be pretty good. Patrick just were on players at their position, voted by this ESPN poll by coaches, players, and front office types. And Patrick Tam, top 10. Bradley Chubb is where is Randy Gregory nowadays? We really don't know.
Right.
Injuries and stuff like that. So there's still a lot of questions on defense. I don't think you have that person to mask any blunders on defense than you do like Russell Wilson on offense. So that's what kind of scares me. That's what I'm kind of looking at. But either way, it'll be an exciting training camp. Hopefully heading into the regular season, we see kind where everyone's, I guess, comfortability is. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I'm kind of right there with you too. Like I've said it before, and you know how I feel. I feel the same way. Like the head coach, play callers, they make me a little nervous. There's a lot of history to say, hey, once these guys get some time in the league, they get experience in the league, they make those mistakes. Maybe they adjust the way that they call plays, the way that they handle the game. Getting guys, old head coaches in situations to help you with that is also good. But yeah, I think this, what I could tell from this coaching staff so far is that they like to get involved and coach. They like to get in there and coach with these guys. The only thing that kind of makes me wonder, but I think if you look at overall this team, it's a mix of younger veterans. There's really not like, I guess you want to call them the old heads, that these guys talk about, that the old veterans, the guys that have been around this league, guys have been on this team for a long time. There's not a whole lot of those on this Broncos team. I think maybe what McManus and maybe Simmons are the only ones left from any semblance of the last 5 years, or that Super Bowl team anyway, I should say, or around that time. I think that's kind of right around there. So those two guys, their personalities aren't real demonstrative. So I think a head coach can come in like Hackett is, who seems to be. He's like a newer, cooler, hipper head coach, like he gets the music, he gets the vibe that all these younger cats, and I've heard him call them that, these young cats, these younger guys that are out here. So I think that's going to go a long way with this younger group, with this younger squad that you want here, because you do want to establish some continuity. You do want to establish yourself. You don't want to come in and be grumpy old man Vic, and that probably was bad for these younger guys, because Vic might have had a different way of doing things, and may have been more of like the old school kind of version. Maybe not. I mean, I never was at practice, so I don't know what the hell's going on there. But from what I could tell and what I read from these guys' reactions, it looked that way. So I'm curious to see how that goes over, and if it goes a while, because there's some guys that you could run into that are these older veteran guys. But like I said, I don't know how many of those are on the team really that are in that mindset. That's like, all that's for those younger guys, but don't bring that stuff over here to me, and that could rub them the wrong way. I don't know if there's a lot of that attitude there. So as far as the players reacting to Hackett, I think that in this coaching staff, I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air, especially through that training camp situation, especially into the preseason and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see how this new kind of style is going to work with these younger-ish players that we have on this franchise.
Yeah, and we got another comment from Jody. I mentioned that scares me about a first-time head coach being a first-time play caller. She said, look at Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, and Matt LaFleur. Kyle Shanahan, although he's made it to the playoffs a few years, his regular season record is 39-42. But let's been Jimmy G, and we'll see where Jimmy G's off season as well. And let's face it, he was a bad play call away from perhaps making it to the Super Bowl last season. So that was something you got to look at too. They were a play away from perhaps beating the Rams to make it to the Super, or who they play? Was it the Rams in that, or did they lose the round before?
They
I don't have it in front of me, but they were.
It was the Rams.
Green Bay.
Great. No, they beat Green Bay. They beat Dallas.
Okay,
they beat Green Bay.
So they were a play away.
The
So they were perhaps a play away from beating the Rams to make it to the Super Bowl. But Shanahan's record in the regular season, 39-42. Matt LaFleur, I mean, again, Kyle Shanahan has a Jimmy G.
I could go right there with you.
Grab it up your cremo, LaFleur. He has had Aaron Rodgers. And let's face it, in the postseason, Matt LaFleur is 2-3. And McVay, he might be the unicorn. Excuse me. Let's face it, all these guys are Mike Shanahan descendants, so keep that in mind as well. So is McVay, is he the unicorn, or is he just kind of getting lucky with being the head coach of the Rams? I mean, he did get Jared Goff to a Super Bowl. He did get they bring in Matt Stafford. His first season, they win a Super Bowl. So I don't know if McVay's I'd like McVay. I don't know is he the unicorn, or is he just Is he that dang good, or is he just? I don't want to say he's lucky because he's an excellent head coach. So he may be the unicorn of that group.
He's McVay's the only one of this group that you can look at and point to say that's what it can look like if it's successful, because you got to remember what happened with McVay in that first Super Bowl. Bill Belichick took his pants down and spanked him in front of the nation. So I think that had a lot to do with Sean McVay getting better and doing what he could do going forward. Yeah, Jared Goff too, and that running game was tremendous, but it was hurt going in that Super Bowl. Yeah, I understand there was issues like that, but Bill Belichick made him look like a freaking first, like just made him look so awful in that Super Bowl. So I wouldn't call him the unicorn. He's the one that he went through it. He got better, and he's got back to Super Bowl and won it. So that's the progression. That's what we could, as Broncos fans, hope that Hackett would go through.
So
we don't want to go see him get his butt spanked in the Super Bowl, but we want him to go through those progressions. LaFleur and Kyle Shanahan, they haven't done anything yet. They haven't done absolutely nothing. And they have had bad seasons to where coaching has been a question mark, especially with Kyle over there. And Matt LaFleur, I could tell you right now, I got this cheesehead banging over. I watched LaFleur, a lot of LaFleur, what LaFleur did with the Packers, and what I'm hoping is going to happen here with the Broncos between Hack and Osman coming over here, is that running game. That running game got heads and shoulders above and better than anything with that Packer franchise. He still has Aaron Rodgers. I'll go back to that Tampa Bay game. They got into it. They got into a little issue there. Remember when it was like, hey, we should have went for it there? No, we're going to kick a field goal. That's a play caller's blunder, because he was not thinking ahead. If he was thinking ahead, he would have had a play in there. Aaron Rodgers probably already had a play. He knew he was going to run, and LaFleur overrode him, and they kicked the field goal. That was an issue there of a first-time play or a head coach, play caller kind of a situation there. LaFleur's made plenty of coaching blunders. The whole point of all this is that you can learn. Andy Reid, look how long it took Andy Reid as a play calling head coach to win a Super Bowl, because of all the head coaching mistakes he's had in the past. He's the perfect example of a play calling head coach and how long it took him to get successful, and what else he needed to add to that. Hackett here has that good combination of a top 10 quarterback in the NFL to help him get through his first year. He's going to have blunders. He's going to make mistakes. And there's just a history of everything when it comes to play calling head coaches. It just doesn't shine. It took Mike Shanahan for a while, and Shanahan didn't call plays for a little bit. He started to call plays later in his career, but there's just a lot of evidence there that head coaches that are play callers, they can be successful, but it takes longer. And I think the learning curve is more because you're more focused on the offense and calling plays. That's just the way I feel about it. Let's see.
To Jody's point, Matt, if Kyle Shanahan, and she said that he has been to 2 NFC title games and 1 Super Bowl. Had an elite quarterback like he does now. I don't know what's up with this cough, but
didn't Andy Reid have Donovan McNabb? Is he elite quarterback? Would you call him elite?
Elite? I think
I don't know if he's Pat Mahomes, but I mean, Donovan McNabb was pretty freaking good. And he had that all. He had Westbrook on that offense. There's that team, those teams with Don McNabb, I'm not gonna, like I'm saying, I would say Don McNabb was elite. And Andy Reid made a lot, even when he got to Kansas City, he was still making mistakes.
And are we? Yeah, this internet's pissing me off now. But
yeah, it's going in and out.
Are we just categorizing like elite players and good head coaches just to getting to Super Bowls? Or I thought you had to win a Super Bowl to be an elite player and or a very good head coach. Because McVay, like you mentioned,
puts you in that. I agree. That's what puts you in that class is if you win, you go out and you win these Super Bowls and you win them. You get there and you win them. That puts you in that elite category for sure.
So where do you place Kyle Shanahan? Is he a very good head coach, or is he just okay because he's been to 2 NFC title games and 1 Super Bowl, but nothing to show for it?
He's a very good head coach. He's a very good head coach.
I mean, to get there, I think give him some credit. Yeah, this internet's pissed me off, so I don't know when to talk.
It keeps going in and out. I don't know if you're it is something different. But yeah, I think to get there, because you got to look how he got there too, and you got to look at the overall like the years that they weren't very good. Jimmy G got hurt. They were decimated with injuries. You know, that COVID season, they were decimated with injuries and things like that. So it was, you got to wonder where would they have ended up if, you know, not for those injuries. But you could say that about the I don't know if you want to say the Broncos were depleted with injuries too, though, but they didn't have a freaking quarterback. I mean, there's a lot of teams that you can say that for. They were depleted with injuries, but they were hurt. I mean, the biggest thing with Kyle Shanahan, and the reason why he's a successful head coach, is because of that running game. That running game that he adapted, that he'd learned from his dad, and he just went it out. Look at all those the Shanahan disciples. They all have the same type of running game. So you got to throw that there too. And I mean, when it comes to Kyle Shanahan, yeah, I do feel like he's a very good head coach. And I wouldn't put him in the elite situation, in the elite category yet, because there's certain things that make you elite as a head coach. And he's had times to, in my opinion, Sean McVay's an elite coach. Hell yeah, he's an elite coach because he was there, he lost, got his butt kicked, came back, and he won again. That's elite. That's elite stuff. And Kyle Shanahan, he's been there twice. He hasn't won it. He's got to get there. He's got to keep going. He's got to win one. He's got to get to the dance. He's got to get elite. So there's levels to all this. So yeah. I feel like he's a very good head coach. He's just not elite yet.
So what makes a quarterback elite though? Because I'm trying to think of these the no, right? So would that make Jimmy G elite if he would have won the Super Bowl 2 years ago?
No,
because we know where the career trajectory
that just makes Jimmy G a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Trent Dilfer, Super Bowl winning quarterback. Brad Johnson, Super Bowl winning quarterback.
So again, what makes you elite?
In my opinion, he's just he would just be a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
So what makes you elite then as a quarterback? What's the criteria? Because if Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson and if Jimmy G would have won, we're not considering them elite. So what makes an elite quarterback? Because I mean, Peyton Manning was elite. Is that because he's won 5 MVPs, 2 Super Bowls, led the league in passing a bunch, stuff like that? Is that that make you elite, or
I think there's a lot of things that go into that could make somebody elite. I don't think there's just one or two like the checklist you can go off of to make people elite. Because there's a lot of if you're talking about the quarterback position in particular, like for me, elite quarterback, if you win an MVP, you're not the best. You've been selected to be the most valuable player of the NFL. Then that makes you elite right there. That makes you an elite quarterback. So that could be one thing you can check off there, because I don't know how you could say an MVP quarterback is not an elite quarterback. There's so many things that you can get into. There's so many, like you would have to break down, that Sunny in Philadelphia thing where they got the board all set up and they got wire or stuff going everywhere. That's what you would have to do, because there's so many things to go through. And if we're talking about, I mean, Peyton Manning, he's got all the hardware. You saw the eye test, you saw the stuff on the field, you saw how he carried a team. He lifted a team up. He lifted that team up. So that's something that could lead to being looked at as being elite, is how you lift your team up, how you make your team better, how you attract players to your team. Like Peyton Manning, again, he attracted DeMarcus Ware, Emmanuel Sanders, like all that we had a majority of those players come because of we had an elite quarterback. I mean, right now, are we looking at Russell Wilson? Is he an elite quarterback?
I don't know. I don't know that question. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's lost one, won one. I don't know if he's at that elite category. And I agree with Jody on our comment board. She said going to multiple Super Bowls plus winning multiple Super Bowls. So he's been to multiple,
Right.
but I don't know criteria by these standards though. Why I'll bring back Dan Marino. Why is he in like most everyone's top 10 of all time quarterback list when he never won a Super Bowl? Only went to one and lost it. And why is Terry Bradshaw, who won 4? Why is he barely cracking everyone's top 10? That's what I don't get.
And that goes into, again, it's like there's I really feel like there's categories out there that if you that have more paint or more points or more value than others. So say if you for me, this is for me. If you win a Super Bowl, you're an MVP, you're a passing leader for the season. Those categories, if you check those boxes, they hold more weight, they hold more points than just winning a Super Bowl. Winning a Super Bowl gets you X amount of points. Being a Super Bowl MVP, being an MVP of the league gets you more points. You know what I'm saying? Like yards and stuff like that. For me, that's what does it. I could go out and just point at something and say, yeah, he looks like he's elite, but then the stats and stuff don't back it up. Like you said, you gave the examples of Dan Marino, never won a Super Bowl. Terry Bradshaw, some people look at him as average at best, but he has 4 freaking Super Bowls. So yeah, I think there's just this is a good conversation, because if somebody had the time to sit down and make like a chart of, this gets you X amount of points, this gets you X amount of points, and this, you have to get this many points to be elite. And if you're not, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. That's what we would need here. But there's a lot of things that can make you elite. I do think Russell Wilson is elite, by the way.
And again, I had almost forgotten this. And again, Jody brings it up on the message board, Matt. Russell Wilson, 0 MVP votes in his career.
And that's crazy. That's crazy to me. Because there were a couple seasons where I could remember where he was looked at coming down the stretches as an MVP, at least thought of it, but that is something that's interesting for sure.
I don't know. I don't know if I would like to think and again, just military cheat and then we can go off of that, because everyone has different opinions. It's almost like the debate in basketball: who's the GOAT? Is it LeBron? Is it Jordan? And then people break it down by decades and eras and generations and what era did they play in? I mean, let's face it. All those guys played in an era. It wasn't as soft. Let's face it, football, you're getting hit all the time. You can get a season-ending, career-ending injury at any point, but you can barely touch the quarterback nowadays. You throw it back to that era. Again, Jordan was getting mugged and thrown down in the paint, and no fouls were called and stuff like that. LeBron gets looked at the wrong way, it's a foul. So everyone breaks it down by eras and time they played and categories and who was on their team and stuff like that. So I don't know. I would like to think he's elite, but honestly, I think Russell Wilson, I don't know if he has to get to one more Super Bowl, but definitely has to win one. And especially if you do it with another team, Matt, like Manning, like Brady, those guys who win it with one team, go to another brand new situation and win another one, especially in your first year. I think if Russell Wilson wins one with the Broncos, then that puts him in that elite category, because then you have multiple, you've been to 3. I think he's right on the cusp of elite, but I don't quite think he's there yet.
Yeah, and I could see that. Definitely, I could see that 100%. I could totally see that, and from that aspect. So, moving right along here. I don't know if you want to wrap this up, Mike, because this internet is driving up both of us crazy. So we could try to string it out, or we could wrap her up. Okay, so This will be the last one for the day. Mike, I gotta ask you this. I see this all over the internet now. Nikola Jokic won his second MVP this year. We all know this, but I see this all
Is
over
he
the
elite? Is he
social web.
elite? Hasn't won a title.
He hasn't won a title. He is elite, right? But that's one of those MVP back-to-back MVP, like, just puts you into elite status category in my opinion. But you're right.
Are we crossing the
So
Go ahead. Yeah.
what my question is to you, Mike, and I want to know how you feel about this. Nikola Jokic gets zero respect around the league. Nobody wants him on their team. You see all the talking heads, the analysts, everybody, they don't even have him as a top 5 player, top 10, whatever. They don't have him. They don't look at Nikola Jokic they don't look at Nikola. Here we go. They don't look at Nikola as an elite basketball player in the NBA. Most people that you see on these shows. What my question is, us as Nuggets fans, we know what we got in Nikola Jokic. We know what we see out there. Is it time for us to shut the hell up and quit playing Captain Save a Bro with Nikola Jokic and just let the dude play basketball and show these people what he's all about and watch this Denver Nuggets team vie for a championship this year? Or should we keep fighting for him? Because I'm done with this Captain Save a Bro. Everybody is just crying over Joker. Nobody loves Joker. Everybody's crying over it. Should we shut the hell up? Should we stop and just sit back and let this guy play basketball?
I mean, I've sit back and watched him play.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. I haven't been able to watch him play a lot because of the cable situation here in Colorado. So let me throw that out there first. But
Good point.
You know, so I think because a big and again, let's face it, he's not flashy. His passing for a big man is elite. I will throw his passing into the elite category just because of his size. But he just tumbles down the lane. He's for as slow as he is getting to the basket, man. I don't know how nobody can stop him just because he's tall. I don't know, but he's a wizard with the basketball, man. The shots that he creates is just wizard like. And so again, elite. I'm iffy, Matt, and I don't blame him for not being elite. I blame the team. I blame the people making decisions at the Nuggets of why this team is not getting over is it and I am one of those components. I'm so glad Will Barton's gone. I'm a little sad that Monte Morris had to be thrown in there. I think I compared it to when Carmelo got traded to New York. We were all sad that Chauncey had to go with him. Mm-hmm. But you're hoping for, again, this whole conversation depends on health. Joker's gonna do his thing. He's going to get you between 20 and 30 points. I know it's a big range, but he's going to get you in that window. He's going to get you 12 plus rebounds. He might get you 10 pluses. He's going to get you a triple double. I don't want to say every other night, Matt, but pretty close to every other night. So he's going to do his thing. I don't know, just because I guess he's not flashy as say a LeBron or a whoever you want to throw in that category. I don't know. I let him do his thing. I really don't defend him because his numbers and his now back-to-back MVP speak for themselves. But I don't know. This whole conversation depends on health players around you.
I agree. I agree 100% with you on that. It's and that's what I can't remember who said it, but somebody said it too, that Joker is like, they don't understand the hate or why everybody is going to defend him or like Captain Save a Bro for him here, because he's a back-to-back MVP. He's got 2 MVPs back-to-back. So what else does that tell you? That they agree with you. Those MVP voters, blah, 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 got it right. But I do agree with you in the sense that if he was on, because this has always been considered, the Denver Nuggets have always been considered a flyover city, and they still are, even with Nikola Jokic on the team. They are looked at that way. I don't know what, even with Carmelo, when Carmelo was here, Yeah, there was a little bit more hoopla, not as many. Kenyon Martin signed here. That was a huge deal. The trade for Allen Iverson, that was a huge deal. We as the Denver Nuggets fans and Denver Nuggets, we got more eyes out here. It's not the same with Nikola because like you said, he's not flashy. He doesn't do the Joel Embiid stuff. He doesn't look like he's a monster, dominant, absolute monster out there on the court. And not having the team around him, not having the Jamal Murray's able to go out, because Jamal Murray's a monster too. I don't know why I keep saying Jamal Murray's, but Jamal Murray is a freaking monster. We cannot forget what that dude did in the playoffs multiple times. And dudes that can do that are freaking monsters. They're those guys. We didn't get to see him last season. This year's the year that we as Nuggets fans and then everybody around the country, this is there's no waiting, there's no joke, there's no time to waste. Like you said with this, Calvin Booth, I think knows that, and I think he's going to make a big push to make this team absolutely one of those teams that you look at as in the top 5 that get talked about daily, like the Lakers, like the Suns, like the Nets, like whatever teams you want. They get talked about daily in an NBA space because of the way they play basketball and how flashy they are, how good they can be. And I feel like we're going to see that this year. And I do, Mike, I do think we're going to see a big trade, and I do think we're going to see a superstar here with Nikola Jokic. I don't know who it is going to be. I don't know who they're going to trade for, but I think we're going to see something like that. I really, really freaking do. That's my prediction this year, buddy. We're going to see something crazy this year. Crazy. So I think that's going to do it for us. How you doing? Yep, Mike has that.
But do you give up a Murray or an MPJ to get that superstar? That's going to be the question. And question two of this: are you satisfied with the moves that Kelvin Booth made so far in this offseason? Trading Will Barton and Monte Morris for the likes of KCP and Ish Smith. I don't know how much we'll see Ish Smith. The signing of DeAndre Jordan kind of made me scratch my head. I would rather have kept Boogie, but I've never been an MPJ fan. If we're going to discredit the Lakers Disney World Championship ring, do we discredit Murray's performance in Bowl? There's so many questions surrounding these two guys because of their health, because of we just see here and there. So PJ was a Mex contract from CBS Denver. Man, she said, how do you get multiple back surgeries and expect it to get better? It's not going to get better no matter how many surgeries you get on your back. We're hoping for what was that movie with Brad Pitt where he aged backwards? What was that called?
Benjamin Button.
We're hoping for a Benjamin Button type situation with MPJ's back, and it's not going to happen. So that's where I stand. I wouldn't mind to see MPJ gone. I was glad Barton's gone. I would not be disappointed at all if they would have to eat at least some of that contract.
Right.
At that point, you almost have to eat some of that contract just to get rid of that situation. It's just been so many question marks, and I'm done hearing about it.
I agree. I agree 100%. If we're in a situation where this team is like fifth in this conference, in that mid to lower bottom, I think this team has to be, in my opinion, this team has to be first or second in this conference for them to not be in that window to trade somebody. But if they are in that 5 below that kind of realm, I think we're looking at, I don't care I don't want to trade Jamal Murray. I do not absolutely want to get rid of him. I love him. I think he's going to be a superstar. I think he's going to be elite. I do. I really do. I don't discredit the Lakers Disney championship. I don't, because everybody was dealing with the same situation. Everybody had 3 months off. Everybody had to deal with that bubble experience. Everybody had to be in that area or down there doing that whole deal. Everybody had to do it. So it was the same thing for everybody. Now, does LeBron James and Anthony Davis benefit more for 3 months off than everybody else? Probably. That's what they needed. They're old, as we can see now. Maybe. That's the only thing I'm going to say about that, but I don't discredit that whole deal at all. So what Jamal Murray did there and what happened there is what happened there. So I do think that if we are in a situation as a Denver Nuggets team and they're in that mid range, I do think they got to start looking at, and if it is trading Jamal Murray, if it is trading MPJ, if it is trading Bones for a superstar, for a legit superstar. Now, I don't know who that could be. I don't know. It's not Jimmy Butler. I'm not doing it for a guy like Jimmy Butler. It's got to be like a Dame Lillard. It's got to be like a Kevin Durant, something like that up in that category. And I don't even know if that's going to be possible. But yeah, I'm fine with trading MPJ. I was done with MPJ after that bubble season, and then we got into the when we were in that playoff series with Portland. I felt MPJ could have been a hell of a lot better in that series, and he wasn't. So I was done with MPJ after that. So that's where I'm at.
If you're getting Dame Lillard on this team, you're not keeping Jamal Murray because they essentially play the same position. So you're not. Would you?
He's that type of player too that you would. That's the only type of player you trade a Jamal Murray for. You don't trade him for like a Jimmy Butler. I keep hearing Jimmy Butler. I'd like to have Jimmy Butler, but it's not going to include. He's not up in that category. It might. I would even be hesitant to get rid of Bones for a Jimmy Butler type.
I would trade Jamal Murray and MPJ for Jimmy Butler straight up right now.
Oh, would you
sign me up?
Jamal Murray?
Give me buckets.
Oh.
Jimmy can play. Jimmy can play. I know we're not NBA. You don't really go who plays the one, who plays the two.
Yeah,
that's kind of gone away. But Jimmy Butler can play 4 positions.
I know. I hear you, Mike. I do. I hear you. And I would love to have him on this team, but I don't know if I'd give up Murray for him. I'd have to think about that. I really do.
No, it's no question in my mind. And not only that, Jimmy Butler's played, I think, 82 games for like the last 6 seasons straight.
Yes. But I mean,
including
the only thing with Jimmy Butler is it's kind of like with Boogie. I'd love to have Boogie here, but is he going to like go off and lose his brain and get a technical foul? Is Jimmy Butler going to go off and start fighting with Nikola?
Jimmy's not that hot-headed. And if he was, he's calmed down a lot.
Ever since fighting with his head coach last year, he's settled down.
And maybe that's just his Chicago roots, but
I feel you. But Levine might be a dude too. If that Bulls team doesn't get out of the gate quick, man, Levine could be a guy.
Yeah, and they re-signed him to a max deal, which was good to see.
Which is good to see too, and that's tradable because we got max guys over here, MPJ, Jamal Murray, or something like that, and if you trade those max contracts for a max contract, that works out too.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, straight up right now, Levine for MPJ, and I know it's going to cost more,
right?
But I would do that straight up right now too.
It's fun to think about, though, isn't it? All right, that's time for us to get out of here. We made it through that show, Mike. We did it.
Yeah, barely. By the one little string of bandwidth that's holding this together.
Oh, my goodness. Once again, you can find us on Rocky Mountain Sports Network. That is our new home, 5280 Sports Radio. If you are on Twitter, follow me at Matt Mascarenas1 and Michael's at Michael Spillin on Twitter. If you want to do all that stuff to follow us. Other than that, we'll catch you next week. I don't know. I don't have a tagline, Mike. I don't. Do you have one? Stay happy.
No. Just
have fun. Have a great Sunday.
Next week.
See you next week.
Have fun.
Direction.